Welcome to the remaining part of the detailed explanation of Flamingo, chapter number 5, Indigo by Louis Fisher. Before we go ahead, let's have a quick look at the story so far. The story shows Gandhiji's vision of life very clearly. He was at once affected by the grave injustice meted out to the sharecroppers of Champaran. He raised the problems of the oppressed sharecroppers before the appropriate authorities. Thousands of peasants gathered when Gandhiji received a summons to appear in the court as a result of his disobedience to quit Champaran. The government was baffled as they felt powerless to control the people's protest. Moreover, the judge decided to postpone the trial against Gandhiji as they felt the need to consult their senior authorities. Now the story continues from here. Gandhiji objected against the delay in the proceedings of the case. He read a statement in front of the court in which he accepted his fault in a very humble manner. He said that he was not a lawbreaker and didn't want to go against the law, but his duty towards humanity has a greater influence on him and it forced him to do so. He further refused to leave the town because he wanted to help the sharecroppers as it was his moral duty. The magistrate then asked him to arrange for bail because he was going to give his judgment after the 2-hour long break. Gandhiji refused to seek bail and later on he was released without the bail. When the court proceedings restarted, the judge refused to deliver any judgment for many days to come. He allowed Gandhiji to remain free. Some well-known lawyers like Rajendra Prasad, Brij Kishore Babu, and Maulana Mazharul Haq came from Bihar to help and advise Gandhiji. Gandhiji asked that if he was sentenced to jail, then what would be their course of action? One senior lawyer replied that they were there to help him out, and if he was sentenced to jail, then they would certainly return back. When Gandhiji came to know about their decision, he asked them to help the sharecroppers who were facing unfairness. Rajendra Prasad and other lawyers concluded that if Gandhiji could go to jail for the people of their area, although he was a stranger there, then they should also follow him, as they had always claimed to serve the peasants and fought their legal battles too. They decided then that if Gandhi went to jail, then they would follow him too. On hearing this, Gandhi assured them that their struggle for Champaran's peasants had been won. He divided the group into pairs of 2 and made a sequence in which they had to voluntarily surrender in the court. After some days, the magistrate sent a letter to Gandhiji in which it was written that as per the orders of Deputy Commissioner, Deputy Governor, the case against him had been taken back. And it was for the first time in modern India that a peaceful protest against the government had been won. And Gandhiji and other lawyers carried on with an in-depth investigation into the injustice with the farmers. Statements of about 10,000 peasants were recorded and various documentary proofs were collected. The whole area then vibrated with activity, the investigators and the protesting landlords. Then in June, Gandhiji was called up to be present before Deputy Governor Sir Edward Gate. Before meeting him, he met his chief supporters and made plans for civil disobedience in case he did not return. Gandhi had 4 long interviews with the deputy commissioner, which led to the formation of a commission that inquired into the indigo sharecroppers situation. The commissioner had landlords, government official, and Gandhi, who was the only spokesperson for the peasant. Gandhi remained in Champaran for 7 months. He also made several short visits later. His visit on the request of a peasant was presumed to last a few days, but it took a year. The official inquiry didn't favor the planters, hence they agreed to pay back to the peasants. But they questioned Gandhi regarding the amount to be repaid. And then the moneylenders had thought that Gandhi would ask for the full payment and of the money and which they had taken from the peasants forcefully and fraudulently. But he asked for only 15% and his decision was firm. A missionary, Reverend J. Z. Hodge, who had a close watch on the matter, reported this. The planters offered to pay only 25% as they thought it would be rejected by Gandhi. He immediately accepted it. Gandhi said that the amount of money was not important, but by giving money, the planters had bowed down to the peasants and had given away their honor too in this way. The planters, who earlier behaved as if they were above the law, now had to abide by law. This made the peasants realize their rights and give them courage to fight for them. Then the further events had proven Gandhi's position. The British planters had to leave their property within the next few years. These properties were returned back to the peasants, and indigo sharecropping system soon came to an end. Gandhi was not satisfied just by achieving political or economic solutions. He always sought to remove the cultural and social backwardness of Champaran. Gandhi wanted to do something to remove the backwardness in the villages of Champaran. For this, he requested teachers such as Mahadev Desai and Narhari Parekh and their wives to teach the villagers. Both of them were followers of Gandhiji. Many other volunteers came from Bombay and Pune to join them. Mrs. Gandhi and their youngest son, Devdas, arrived from the ashram for their help. Primary schools were opened in 6 villages where Kasturbai used to teach the ashram rules on cleanliness and community sanitation. The health conditions of the people of Champaran were very poor. So Gandhiji got a doctor who offered his services free of cost for 6 months, and there were only 3 medicines: castor oil, quinine, and sulfur ointment available. A patient with a coated tongue was given castor oil. A malaria patient was served a dose of quinine, and a patient with a skin disorder was given ointment and castor oil. The women of the area used to wear dirty clothes. So when Gandhiji tried to know the reason through his wife, he was told that those were the only saris each of the women had. So in this way, while Gandhiji was in Champaran, he kept a long distance vigil or check on the ashram activities. He used to send letters of orders regarding financial matters. Once he wrote to the locals that it was time to dig new latrines as the old ones had started giving foul smell. The Champaran incident changed Gandhi's life. He said that he had done a regular thing. He had put his point across that the Britishers could not order him in his own country. The Champaran Satyagraha was not an act of opposition. It was an attempt to help out the poor and tortured peasants. And this was Gandhi's way to solve issues. His politics was knitted up with the everyday problems faced by the millions of people. He did not aim at the fulfillment of ideas, rather, he was concerned for the people. The basic idea was to serve humanity and make a free Indian who could stand for his rights. Charles Freer Andrews, who was a peacemaker, visited Gandhi before going on a tour to Fiji Islands. Gandhi's lawyer friends wanted Andrews to stay at the ashram and help them, but Gandhiji refused. He said that they did not need the help of Britishers as it showed a lack of trust in their own abilities. He asked them not to seek any help from Mr. Andrews as he was an Englishman. Rajendra Prasad later on stated that Gandhiji had read their thoughts and his reply served as a lesson of self sufficiency or self reliance for them. So, in this way, being self dependent, free, and helping the peasants, all these acts of Gandhiji were interconnected. And this way, we come to the end of the story.